from an Azure perspective, we've looked at our research and looked at what is happening in the retail sector. And we're very happy to be joined by Joy Okumu. She's the head of retail at Tech Center, TBC, one of our amazing customers, and she's going to be sharing some insights as we go along in terms of what they see from a retail perspective in the customer experience space. And what we've seen is that there's been a trend downwards, both on physical and online. When you look at the difference in points, it's literally 3 points difference in both online and retail. That's 3 basis points where it's going down from 24 to 25. The overwhelming conversation here is, product availability that talks to, our supply chain disruptions, both sides. But where people are talking more on online delivery is execution failure, right? So the promise of, okay, you're going to get this product in an hour, in 25 minutes, or whatever the case may be, you pay extra for express delivery, and that's not happening, is reducing the online NPS. Whereas on the physical outlets perspective, it's a global macroeconomic issue. So when you've got a decline in online delivery, it's we got excited, we jumped on, and then it didn't give me that fun experience that I get when I go to the traditional retailer. And in the traditional retailer, it's not that I'm not getting the experience I want, it's probably product availability and that supply chain issue. So the experience in traditional retail is still holding up. What I will define it as is that you have to look at it at 2 different levels, product versus service. When you look at the difference in numbers, 36 versus 40 on the NPS, it's marginal, right? It's not enough for you to then say, we need to move everything into online. It's a very marginal NPS. But I think when you look at what the bottleneck is, or what the genesis of it is, you then actually have to accept that, traditional is still going to give you that, that experience that you want. In traditional retail, it has its cycles, whereas online, people are always looking. When there's offers, they'll buy. Whereas, there's a mindset. I will go to because we've got Textbook Center on the call. I will go to Textbook Center, like I said, in two mindsets. One is looking for books for the kids, and they want to touch, feel, read the back cover to decide. Then the other one is, because school is starting. So NPS scores tend to follow that kind of experience. And also, when we and we found that when we do the surveys, also tends to, so is it end month, is it middle of the month, when are we doing those surveys? And that tends to give you a different score depending on that time frame. So now we see who's sitting at the leaderboard, who's dragging it up and who's dragging it down. And of course, there's a lot of data that we can go into that tells us why there is this kind of difference. But you'll find that Magunas, who's a regional player, is doing very well. And the reason they're doing very well, when we look at the commentary that comes from the verbatim responses that we get in our surveys, is really around the localization. People know what they get from Magunas in their locality. They are close to us. They know us. and that is what is driving that number. Whereas when you see, and you can see that out of the top four, Carrefour is the only, if you could call it, national retailer. You're seeing Carrefour stand out, and it's back to that kind of digital delivery that that Joy was talking about, that self-checkout, the kind of things that they're doing in terms of localization as well. You find that Carrefour Two Rivers versus Carrefour, the hub in Karen, are having different promotions on different products because they understand the markets that they're targeting. And we're seeing that in the verbatim comments that come out of the survey. And even with the with the national footprint that Naivas have, they're still sitting at a 38.77, and some of that has to do with the friction at till point. The time spent, how long it takes to check out at the till point. This is some of the operational frictions that we try and talk to as a Joy, to actually say, how do you work around some of these issues as a traditional retailer? Joy, from your perspective, you're a national, you're represented nationally, but correct me if I'm wrong, you don't have a footprint in Mombasa, right?
No, not yet. Working on it.
Working on it, but but this this kind of local nature, being able to be close to the customer, is possibly what we're seeing in these results as well. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Actually, as you talked about checkout as one of the key challenges that consumers face within physical stores. I was just laughing and saying, e-commerce has the ability through technology to track abandoned carts and track that against customer satisfaction and see certain NPS and understand exactly how their behavior on the website affects customers' satisfaction. But in physical stores, that's a bit difficult to do. Track abandoned carts unless you actually walk around looking at the carts that have been left by the aisle. And it would be interesting to see if managers are actually on the floor and walk the floor to understand and track this the same way e-commerce teams track it, and get to understand why, or even see, catch the customer before they walk out and abandon their shopping due to the long queues, especially during high commercial moments or seasons. So it would be very important for us as physical store retailers to look at ways that we can make that experience better, check out faster, and for us, we track that on per hour, per cashier, just to see how long it's taking us, to serve customers.
And I think that's a very good point, is that, when you, of course, the data points that you can collect when you're in e-commerce are, vast, and there's a lot, right? But as soon as you have a manager walking a floor, there's context, right? Did the checkout, did the abandoned cart happen because the guy did the calculation and said, "Oop, I don't have enough money for this"? Was it a I've just run out of time, I need to leave? Or is it actually, this line is too long, I can't deal with this now? And I think, that kind of physical human touch can give context to the data that even can enrich any changes to the experience that one can do. So Magunes comes out as the value champion, which is interesting, right? Because if you asked people in your favorite WhatsApp group, they'll probably tell you that, you know, they think Naivas is the value champion, right? And that's how they position their brand. Quick Mart, in the name, it's in the name, Quick Mart, right? And Carrefour, of course, you know, this is French. We don't know, well, I at least don't know what it means. But the brand positioning is coming out in how consumers are seeing it. And that is quite interesting, that the Naivas has left that value champion to Magunas, and people are seeing Magunas, even though it's you know, it's a localized player. You could call them regional. They're seeing them as the leader in delivering value, and they've got a loyalty base that is consistently going back to them. And that doesn't mean that there's a Magunas in every locality, right? But in that locality, with our respondents, that is what is coming out. So if there's a Magunas, Carrefour, Naivas, Quick Mart in one locality, people will track into the Magunas knowing that they're going to get value out of there. The scale paradox, which, you know, once you start going big, you know, you've got more people who are talking about you, and therefore, from a data perspective, you've got more people who may be talking badly about you, is what we're seeing with Naivas. I think there's a loyalty decline, because Naivas was seen as, you know, what Magunas is seen now. So now you're not comparing them to Magunas, you're comparing them to Carrefour, right? You're more likely to be comparing Quick Mart with Magunas than you would be Quick Mart with Carrefour. And so now, you know, when you hit a certain a certain threshold or scale point, the comparison in the consumer's mind changes, and I think that's where you see that difference. You know, the reason behind this is not to bash one or the other. Everyone is running their race, and I mean, as a consumer, I'm grateful for all these guys, because think about it, like 5 years ago with the crash of Nakumatt, Uchumi, there was a time where we didn't have choice, right? And now we have all this choice, which is amazing. And what this tells me is that, you know, especially when we look at this slide, there's more choice to come. I know that for those that are in the Lavington area, Kilelesho Lavington area, there's actually a Quick Mart and a there's a Quick Mart and a Clean Shelf right next door to each other, and they're fighting each other like tooth and nail, right? And that's great for consumers, right? Because then it means price-wise, service-wise, we're getting a much better value set.
I think also for a retailer, in terms of expansion, this data is crucial in understanding in an area you want to expand to, what are consumers looking for. Then you're able to package yourself to meet that need. For example, for in Textbook Center, we have different types of stores. So how we communicate to a customer, say I want to roll out a store in Mombasa, I think it would be crucial to look at this data from how other retailers are performing within that area and the sentiments consumers have. So it would go a long way in advising me the kind of store I need to open in that area. Are consumers price sensitive? Then do I need to look at a standard store? Are consumers looking for premium products? They are very discerning. Then do I need to go premium? So I think this information is very crucial for someone who's looking to expand within a certain market.
Also on the online retail perspective, just to look at it and say, you know, where are we sitting? You know, who's right at the top and who's who's pulling people down? And I would really like posit this in terms of just experience. And if you think about, you know, when you go online, where do you go? Jumia sits at the top, I think, because they have consistently been around and have created brand trust on the products that they sell, on the fact that, when they say you can return something, you can actually return it. You can accept it a day later. You can say, no, this is not what I wanted, and take it back. They're very, and they've got the collection centers and all of that. They've built a very strong trust infrastructure. Kilimall comes second behind that, and then I think Masoko comes second, and then Kilimall. But Masoko, I think, with a brand of Safaricom, rides on the ability for their pickup and drop-offs also to be built off their agent network. Kilimall, I think, for me, sits at a challenger perspective, because if you take Masoko out of the fact that they're backed by Safaricom, Kilimall, an independent, really challenging the Jumia footprint, and what we see from the data is again, the verbatim commentary is the kind of verbatim commentary that we used to see for Jumia when they were starting out. So it shows that there's a drive for it. But what I like most about it is, of course, again, there's many platforms, and as soon as you see that there's many platforms, there's choice for the consumer, and now we can actually start seeing, where is brand trust being built, where isn't being built. Gigi struggles with that trust deficit, because it's they don't verify their merchants. There's a big component of, will I actually get what I want when I go on Gigi? Is this somebody who's a fly by night? So there's quite a bit of challenge when it comes to that store, and convenience, of course, all around the world. E-commerce is providing that, but convenience at what cost? And I think that's where we see, people enjoy having the online experience, but there's still a trust component that a traditional retailer just gets over, for the fact that they open their doors, the product is there, the people are there, and they can accept and talk to you as you shop. So when we look at the top themes, product availability and variety are driving, that everything under one roof, well stocked, and that's why that that global supply chain issue is something that pulls down NPS. If I'm used to finding a certain author in Textbook Center and he's not there, that causes friction. Yes, Textbook Center does very well in saying, we can order this for you at a later time. That's possible, but it brings down the experience. Offers and promotions, I think, it's a Friday, you're going to get all the SMSs from Naivas, from Quickmart around offers, promotions. It's a big thing. I think that is a thing that's starting to really get ingrained in the consumer. So if you're not offering me something, I'm not going to come to you. But the thing that I like most is store layout and cleanliness. I think over the last 5 years, in terms of layouts and cleanliness in store, and I think the experience has really been driven from there. Joy, any of these speak to where you guys are at?
Yeah, they do. Well, first off, if I look at price and value, consumers are looking to get maximum value for their purchases. So you need to, curate offerings that attract different segments of the market, and also, show you. We've talked about product availability. That's another angle, again, that consumers are very touchy about, online and both offline, and across multiple outlets. They'd like to find a product they're looking for when they need it.
Yeah. And it talks to the things that are eroding customer experience, right? That product quality mismatch, what you're selling me versus what the experience is like when I go home. Unfortunately, that sits with the retailer. No one, very few individuals will look and say, "Oh, this is something that Unilever sold me." They'll say, "This is something I got from Carrefour," or "This is something I got from Texas." So the retailer has that big responsibility on their shoulders, right? High prices has been coming up for the last 2 years in our when we do these surveys, and it's very weird in the sense that there's a component where you say to yourself, can retailers actually manage high prices, or is it economy driven? But it's a big complaint from customers. Improve on pricing. You're too expensive. So there's a product quality mismatch, and then just an economy mismatch, right? So
Yes.
how are goods getting to that retail? They have to buy fuel. Has fuel gone up? Yes, it has. So I have to increase my price. But people are really struggling with that. And Joy, are you seeing that as a thing?
Yeah, we are. Quite a bit of our inventory imports, and I think with the last couple of months, we've seen the effects of the war on imports, delays in delivery, access for specific items, key components for technology products has led to a lot of stockouts within the market. And consequently, it means that any product that has been availed, or any brand that has been availed, has come in at a not even slightly, but a higher price than what consumers were paying for 6 months ago. So this is leading to a lot of challenges, especially if let me benchmark on laptops, for example. When you have gray stock and ex-UK stock, and you also have now like the new stock. So the price discrepancy between the three is difficult to explain to consumers who are not very tech savvy what that means. If I just want to buy a Core i3 laptop, basic laptop, why am I finding this at this price in retailer A? But if I go to online platforms like Jumia or Kilimall, I'll find a similar model at a lower price. And probably if I walk into a store off Moy Avenue, it comes at an even cheaper price. So explaining to consumers the intricacies of pricing is very tight on retailers right now. Based on different aspects that are going at it.
Yeah, and I think that's really where we're the education and awareness has to take a forefront in terms of how you position the changes that are happening in the market, and just keeping customers close, so that they see this as a continuous conversation. There's a component of and we've spoken about how the cues, the product authenticity. And then now, what I want to talk about more is how do you actually do this hybrid component, right? Click and collect. I think for us, what we're seeing from the data is that when you look at that a cycle of buyer awareness, then they want to buy, then they go to buy, and then they actually buy it. All through that process, right? There's friction there. Whether the friction is online, where I can't really understand, which product am I supposed to buy, and so I end up going into the store, or it's, in the queue, I've got the product I want, but there's a long queue. I think there's components of, learning from the online and the traditional to be able to actually create a very good hybrid solution, right? So again, it's don't go all out on the online. Don't say traditional. Don't say tradition is dead. Traditional is dead. And so how do you declare war on queues, which is a big red flag coming out of the report that we did. We talked about deploying self-checkout or scan as you go. How do you win on authenticity, right? If you're online, if you've just got an online platform, I think the ability for a textbook center, I know you've got an online platform as well, is how do you mix the experiences, right? Comparative to say, if you come to the store, you get a 2% walk-in discount or education discount or whatever the case may be. If you buy online, you get a 10% delivery discount. Are there experiences that you can merge the two into? I think when you have the in-store capability, you actually can then build upon what that seamless online into the store experience. And I think the call to action from us is that physical retail needs to win on speed and online needs to win on trust. And I think the capabilities that are coming out of this report and what we're seeing in the market proves to us, there's, is the market tough? Yes, it is. But there's lots and lots of opportunity for internal operational change that could lead to growth externally. What do you think, Joy?
I totally agree. I think some of the aspects, and if I'm going to be very frank, initially, when we wanted to scale up our e-commerce department, we were not, some of us in physical retail did not look at it from a very positive angle. I think majority of brick and mortar retailers versus e-commerce retailers is always that fight for that one consumer, especially when you're within one brand. But then we noticed quite quickly with the rollout of click to collect, how important it is for the customer to have an omni-channel experience. One, e-commerce could be driving awareness for us online. And when the customer comes in store to pick an item, they wanted convenience and they wanted speed of execution. They wanted to just quickly, I wanted a pen and nothing more, just order for it online and, come and pick it in store because I'm going to sell it anyway. I'm going to meet someone for coffee, so I just want to go pick my items as I go. I don't want to walk into the store and spend 20 minutes or 30 minutes. However, that one customer is extra footfall that I did not have. And at times, it's a consumer that I haven't met before. So leveraging on both channels to drive consumer satisfaction, convenience, is beneficial for both departments. And equally for consumers that come in store, browse, but are not ready to purchase. When they are ready to purchase, they quickly convert at e-commerce, which for us, I think it's a very symbiotic relationship. And what is most important is how do we speak to the customer at their point of contact and give them the best experience possible to keep them within the brand. So it doesn't matter whether they've purchased online or in store, but the key thing here is that they've purchased from me. So if they are coming to the physical store, I give them an experience that will make them easily convert online. Yeah.